Second graders, are you ready for another chapter of the Boxcar Children? Here we go. Violet, look! Henry called to his sister the next morning. It's Aunt Jane's canoe! Henry and Violet ran down to the lake. It was early and the sky was a little pink. Henry, Violet, we found you! Benny called. He tumbled out of the canoe when it reached shore. Henry held the canoe steady while Aunt Jane and Jessie climbed out. "Oh, I'm so happy to see you," Aunt Jane exclaimed. She gave Violet and Henry a big hug. So did Jessie. Benny hopped up and down excitedly. After they unloaded the canoe, the Aldens and Aunt Jane sat down on a log for a snack of graham crackers and peanut butter. Have you ever had graham crackers and peanut butter? I don't think I have. I might try that sometime. Henry and Violet told the others about their things being stolen. It was lucky we had taken most of our food and clothes out of the canoe, Violet explained. You really think it was Angela who took everything? Jessie asked. She was gone when we got back to the bunkhouse, Violet said. So was her canoe, Henry added. She just disappeared. Henry didn't say so, but he suspected Rob, too. Rob hadn't been in his room the night before when Henry and Violet got back from their walk. Henry hadn't seen him all morning either. Well, at least we're all together and safe, Aunt Jane said, interrupting Henry's thoughts. She hugged Violet and Henry for perhaps the 4th time that morning. I really was worried when we got separated, she admitted. I don't know how Angela did it, Violet said, still puzzled. She shook her head. She had so many things with her already. She took our tent, our sleeping bags, our life jackets. I brought extra inflatable life preservers in my backpack, Jessie reminded her. We'll be all right. Henry agreed. We don't have too much further to go, he said. We can all sleep in one tent if we have to. Our big problem will be finding new paddles. Why don't we try to find some long poles in the woods? Jessie suggested. That might work, Henry said, but he sounded doubtful. Still, it would be hard to find just the right size and shape. Even if we did, it would be hard to grip rough wood for a very long time. We have 2 paddles in our canoe, Aunt Jane reminded him. Just take one of ours. We can both manage with only one paddle. Henry looked serious. The only problem is we have some small rapids to cross just before White Pine. It might be hard to do that with only one person paddling. I think we'll be all right, Aunt Jane said. She was an excellent canoeist, and she knew Henry was very skilled as well. It looks like another storm is coming, Jessie remarked. We might as well stay at this campsite another night and not try to cross rapids in this weather. We still have time before we're supposed to meet Grandfather. Good idea, Violet said. She stood up and wiped the cracker crumbs from her lavender shorts. Besides, now that we're finally on Catfish Lake, we should be looking for clues to solve that riddle. That's what I was thinking, Benny said. Oh my goodness, there's Rob, Aunt Jane said. I'd forgotten all about him. Rob slowly limped toward them from the bunkhouse. He looked very pale, and there were big dark circles under his eyes. It seems like his ankle is worse, Aunt Jane said softly. You're here, Rob exclaimed to Aunt Jane, Jessie, and Benny as he came closer. Yes, we made it, Aunt Jane laughed. It was lucky Henry and I planned our route before we left. I knew he would be heading to this campsite. Would you like some peanut butter and crackers? Violet asked shyly. Rob rubbed his eyes and sat down beside Aunt Jane. He looked very worried. No, thank you. I think I'll just make myself some coffee. I'm not very hungry. Did you know we were robbed? Henry asked him. A little more color seemed to drain from Rob's face. So what does that mean? He looked even whiter, like that makes me think he's a suspect, like he might have been the one to steal stuff. No, I had no idea, he said. They took everything we left in the canoe, Henry explained. Even the paddles, Benny added. Angela? Rob asked. We're not sure. Henry looked closely at Rob, but she's gone now. What a shame. Rob shook his head. We're staying here another night, Benny announced. There are some things we want to look for. I'm going to say that over. There are some things we want to look for in the woods. Henry gave Benny a warning look, but Rob didn't seem to notice. Okay, Rob said, but his thoughts seemed far away. I'll be in the bunkhouse if you need me. I need to catch up on some sleep. As they walked through the woods in back of the bunkhouse, Jessie told Henry all about meeting Matt and Bill. They didn't act like 4 strangers, Benny added. Henry sighed. I think we should sit down and talk about all this. He pointed to some big boulders under the trees. When they were all seated, he told Jessie, Benny, and Aunt Jane how mysterious Rob had been acting. He hasn't been himself since we ran into Angela, Violet added. That doesn't mean he took our stuff, Jessie said. She hated to think that Rob might be a thief. I can't prove he took anything, Henry sighed. All I know is that he wasn't in the bunkhouse all evening. After we met Angela, we didn't see him again until this morning. He didn't seem to like Angela any more than we did, Violet added. No, but I think he knows more than he's letting on, Henry remarked. Jessie pulled a piece of paper and a pen out of her rain jacket. I think we should make a list of all the people we suspect, she said. It seems like no one wants us on this trail, Violet said, but I still think Angela is the most suspicious. I think so too, Benny added. But, Henry said, how would she have had time to take all our things, pack them away somewhere, and get away? I'll put Angela on the list along with Lorenzo, Rob, Matt, and Bill, Jessie said. All of them, except maybe Rob, have tried to talk us out of continuing our trip. Well, Matt and Bill didn't really try to stop us, Benny said. No, Jessie agreed, but they seemed suspicious. They said they were 4 strangers, but they didn't act like real rangers, Jessie reminded her brother. And they asked a lot of questions. Do you think Lorenzo is really a scientist? Benny asked. I don't know, Jessie answered. There are certainly people on this trail pretending to be things they aren't. Jessie wrote scientist with a question mark next to Lorenzo's name. It's funny, everyone's acting so strange, Violet remarked. What do they think we know? I gotta say that again. What do they think we know? Or what do they think we'll find out? Henry said. Let's see. Jessie was still busy writing. I believe Lorenzo was the only person we talked to about the riddle. That's right, Henry nodded. And we didn't talk to anyone about the coin robberies. We won't know anything about the coins unless we look for some clues, Benny reminded his family. Everyone agreed. Benny ran on ahead and disappeared in a grove of pine trees. I always have to yawn when I'm reading too, don't I? Sorry. Jessie put away her paper and chased after him. We don't really know what we're looking for, she said as they both stopped to catch their breath. They were surrounded by pine and oak trees. The trees were so tall they blocked out what little light there was that day. Benny walked on ahead while Jessie waited for Violet to catch up. I wish it weren't so overcast, Violet commented when she reached her sister. It makes this forest look very eerie. What does eerie mean, do you know? It means kind of spooky. There's a big meadow up ahead, Benny said, running back to his sisters. I also saw another old house. Really? Let's go see it, Jessie said. By then, Henry and Aunt Jane had joined them. Together, they all walked quickly through the woods to the meadow. The meadow around the house was large and overgrown. Clumps of buttercups and daisies grew near the house. Oh, look at all these beautiful flowers, Violet said. Her eyes were shining. Oh, Violet, don't waste time picking flowers. Come see this big old house. Benny took his sister's hand. Okay, Benny, I'm coming. Violet laughed and ran toward the house with her brother. Careful, those steps don't look too safe, Aunt Jane warned Benny and Violet. The house was built of wood and painted a faded mustard yellow. It had white shutters and a porch that sagged. The porch steps were broken, and so were many of the window panes. This house must be about 100 years old, Henry said. Benny climbed onto the porch. I don't think anyone lives here, he said. No, it looks abandoned, Henry agreed. Benny pulled on the ornate doorknob. What does ornate mean? Does anybody know? It means kind of fancy. It's locked, he reported. He tugged some more, but soon gave up and went around to the back. Hey, he called to the others. I found something else. They found Benny standing by an old stone well near the back of the house. There's the well. That's an old well, Benny, Henry said. It must belong to the house. It was probably built before there was running water. That's it. Violet's eyes were shining. The others looked puzzled. What's it? Henry asked. Remember the riddle? Violet asked. Jessie smiled and pulled a piece of paper out of her big pocket. Silver and gold coins so well hidden, she read. Of course, Henry smiled. The coins are hidden in a well. And we are near Catfish Lake, Jessie reminded them all. Henry leaned over the edge of the well. Can you see anything? Benny asked a bit impatiently. Be careful, Aunt Jane warned Henry. Don't worry, Aunt Jane, Henry said. He was leaning so far into the well, his voice sounded muffled. Well, do you see anything? Henry repeated. No, Henry answered. Maybe I should go back for my flashlight. I have an idea, Jessie said. Why don't we first see if any of these stones are loose? She began prying the stones on the top. Henry, Violet, Benny, and Aunt Jane set to work helping her. To Benny, it seemed as if more than an hour had gone by before Violet shouted, I found a loose stone! The others crowded around her. The loose stone was 3 rows down from the top of the wall. Let's look back at the picture. So it would be 1, 2, 3 rows down, about halfway, right? Careful, Henry warned. You don't want all the stones around it to fall out, too. This is the only stone that's loose, Jessie pointed out. Slowly, Jessie and Violet wiggled and pried the stone until it came out from the wall of the well. Is there anything behind it? Benny asked. Yes, I see something, Jessie reported excitedly. She reached in the hole and slowly pulled out a brown leather pouch. Wow, it's really heavy, she said as she dropped it onto the ground. They all sat in the long grass by the well and watched Benny unbuckle the pouch. Inside were almost 100 gold and silver coins. Oh, some of these coins are so pretty, Violet exclaimed. She held up a silver coin with an oak tree engraved on it. This one is dated 1652. She laid the coin on a rock. Most of them seem to be early American colonial coins, Aunt Jane said. She fingered a large gold coin from the 1700s with an eagle on it. Look at this one, Henry almost shouted. He held up a heavy gold coin. It had an engraving of a sunrise coming up over mountains on one side. On the back was an eagle with a shield and the date 1787. Wow, you guys, that's really a long time ago, isn't it? Do you know what this is? Oh, wait, I think I should say it different. Do you know what this is? A familiar voice spoke behind them. Without waiting for an answer, the voice continued. It's a famous gold doubloon. Some collectors would do anything to get their hands on it. The Aldens turned to find Rob staring at the coins laid out on the rock. Rob's story. I'll read it next time. Have a good